Day 2, task 2. We're going to do a little image correction here. So as you can see, this harbor shot, little dark, not very punchy, not a whole lot going on, and a whole bunch of distraction down here in the bottom. So what we're going to look at today is called destructive editing. We're actually going to change the file. There is non-destructive editing, which we will do next week, and that's where we use other layers and things to leave the original image alone, but give the appearance of a great deal of change. So everything I'm doing here is actually going to change the file for good. Once I save it, it's permanent. So under Image, Adjustments, you'll notice there are a whole bunch of auto features here. You can try those if you like. I very seldom use them. I prefer to actually go in and control what's going on. You'll see on the menu here the top four generally control the brightness, the lightness of the photo, contrast, those types of things. The middle ones here are mostly color. The bottom three here, a little more artistic, some kind of crazy changes that you can apply if you want to. I don't use them too often, but they're kind of fun to look at. Shadows and highlights I do like. You'll notice that's a more common name now for some of the blacks and whites in photos. HDR toning. HDR stands for high dynamic range. Again, another kind of funky effect that's really popular right now. And the last couple are, again, kind of color based, a little more artsy. And I encourage you to go in and try them all. The ones we're going to look at are mostly the top four and a couple in here, mostly the color changes. So the first one we'll look at is brightness contrast. It's a pretty easy slider. Brightness is just make the picture brighter. Pretty simple. Contrast is the difference between black and white. So if I crank that up, you'll notice the image looks a little more punchy, and that's what we're looking for. So something simple like that. That makes it look a little better. I hit OK, and that's changed my image. But you'll notice I do have this sky up here that's kind of bright. Over here on the toolbar, I have tools called Dodge and Burn. Dodge and Burn are remnants from the old photography developing days. Dodging lightens images or lightens parts of the image. Burning burns it down or makes it darker. So I'm going to choose burning. I'm going to just put a tool on here. I'm going to put the exposure at 17-18%. I want it fairly light. I want to be able to control it. And I'm going to put it on midtones just to start with, and I'm going to just burn in this sky here a little bit and just see what it looks like. So I'm bringing that sky down, just making it a little darker. And that helps the foreground. I might even go around a little bit, burn down here, kind of like a vignette. And I just keep going around and something like that if you like it a little bit better. So here's the changes. I'll click here on the history. There's without the burning. There's with the burning. Just kind of balances off a little bit. So that's using the burn tool and brightness contrast adjustment. So if I go back to my original, you can see how dark and pale it is. I'll try levels. This one's kind of neat. This histogram is what you'll see on the back of your camera sometimes. It's from black on the left to white on the right, and then this is shades of gray in the middle. You'll notice I have some eyedropper tools here as well. This is to set a black point, set a white point. So if you have something that is definitely 100% white, you know this for a fact, you can click on that, and I'm going to try this guy right here, and it'll set the white point. You'll notice it changed the histogram. Black point, I'm pretty sure this looks black in here, and it'll do its best, and then I can change the slider how I want. That's one option. You can try the auto feature as well, or I can cancel it, and I will try it again just by moving the sliders over. Normally this is all empty space, there's not a lot of information in there, so you try and drag these sliders over so they touch the histogram, and then you play with the middle on how contrasty or punchy you want to make it. So I'm pretty good with that. And again, I might want to use the burn tool right here, and maybe I'll put it on highlights this time and just darken that. There, so there's my image, there's the original. Here's after doing some adjustments on it. I might even want to use the crop tool. I can set the dimensions, I can set the resolution, and all I'm going to do with the crop tool is bring it down like this maybe, cut that truck out, and some of those power lines. I hit it and I've got a few of the distractions out of there. I might even want to get rid of some of the sky if I can. So maybe I'll crop this so the truck is out, and I'll put a little less sky in there, and maybe something like that. You'll notice that I have the thirds here turned on. If you go up here, you can change the grid. Being a photographer, I like thinking in thirds, so that's how I normally leave that. And there's my picture. Okay, so going from there to there. It's a bit of an improvement, and I can set the crop size to whatever I want. So let's go back and check out curves. This is really popular amongst some people. I personally have never really got into it. There's black point, white point, just like we had in the previous one. There's more options down here if you want to play with it. It's kind of neat because you just drag this, and an S-curve is generally what people are looking for in a good image, something like that. But as you can see, it's a bit of playing. You could put more than one point on there. It does keep the smooth transitions, and you can do some pretty funky stuff. Again, for me, never really jived with, but some people really like it, and that's cool. They're more than welcome to use it. It does make some funky stuff though. Okay, I'm going to do the last one here before we move on to color, and that's exposure. And this is just easy sliders. You'll notice we have your black point, white point, midpoint. You can just up exposure as if it was a camera. So I'm going to brighten it all, offset. You can kind of see what it does. It's kind of like contrast, maybe a little more punchy, and gamma. You just kind of slide them back and forth and see what you like. Give it a chance to preview, and maybe there. That's about good enough for me. So from here to here, took a photo that was useless, too dark, not good for much, and made it at least having a chance to be used for something. So those are your 4 adjustments for exposure, brightness, and you notice they did have some effect on the color, which is a nice benefit.